Hello, friends. Welcome. Salo, Mason. Happy home. Oh, what is it? Oh, it's Monday, March 31st. Tomorrow is April Fool's Day. And all the fools will probably be out in force blowing up Teslas. Teslas that actually belong to their fellow Democrats, people that share their political views. So, yeah, the IQ challenge, um, I think, should become I don't know, a sequel to the Biggest Loser. Yeah. But I want to talk to you today about Volodymyr Zelensky. So, when the war broke out in the Ukraine a few years ago, uh, there were rumors that his wife had left him. Now, there's a difference between your wife leaving you and your wife fleeing with the children to a safe space because your country's being blown to bits. But when your husband is the president of a nation and you are the most powerful woman in the nation and you allegedly love your nation, you would definitely not leave. And they are unsubstantiated rumors. But, I found that to just be kind of strange. You know? Why that? That's just like some random rumor that came out. But what I want to talk to you about is he's not a very nice person. He does not act like a leader who puts his people first and wants the best for his people. He wants to continue this war until every last Ukrainian is dead or in the hands of the Russians. And I feel this way. And of course, this is nothing but opinion. This is my personal opinion. But think about his actions and his behavior, not just what happened at the White House last month or earlier this month, wherever that was. He thinks that he's down in the dirt relating to the everyday Ukrainian and everyday people across the world because he doesn't wear a suit. That he's one of them. But being a president is a lot more complicated than that. I think we can all agree. The thing with Zelensky is that I can't imagine the incredible life and death place we would be right now if the Biden administration had remained in office. And we can all agree that if Harris got in it would be the same. It would, Biden, Harris, they're interchangeable. I think they can pop their heads off like Barbie dolls and, put Ken's head on Barbie and Barbie's head on Ken, and I'm sure that they probably do that in their spare time in the Oval Office when they were in office because of, the gender issues. But for all of the naysayers that think that we are being cruel and unfair to Zelensky and the Ukraine, think about this. He can't get into NATO. If he gets into NATO, Article 5 of the NATO treaty dictates that an attack on one is an attack on all. So if he were to get into NATO, like Biden tried to push, because Biden and his worthless son were paid gazillions of dollars by Ukraine oligarchs for protection and other things, and they were trying to buy their way into NATO. We would be required under the NATO treaty to send all of our military might and forces, ground, air, water, to fight against Russia on behalf of our NATO ally, Ukraine. All of the NATO members would be required to do so. And that would constitute a world war. And all bets are off with the nukes when you start a world war with Russia, who already feels threatened by NATO and feels that NATO is a bully. and that NATO is unfair and a big threat. Russia believes that NATO is its biggest threat. But we wouldn't be having a world war against NATO. We would be part of NATO. We would be required to defend Ukraine at all costs against the big four: Russia and their allies, Iran, China, and North Korea. And they all have nukes, and they would all be lobbing the nukes, and then we would have to lob nukes, and the next thing you know, we would nuke ourselves out of existence. Now, I don't know about you, but I would like to hang around as long as I can. I kind of like being here right now, and I don't have any clue what the next life will bring. If there is a next life, I do believe in reincarnation, but you never know. Seems like a loving God would let you come back and have a second chance at shit. So I don't know. But for those of you that are like, poor Vladimir, no, he's not a poor man. He is a diabolical son of a bitch. The reason that he did not allow his alleged democratic nation to have their alleged democratic elections on time is because they had martial law. Now, he could have lifted martial law to have the election, but he chose not to. Now, I get that, in times of war, some nations might want to keep their leadership in place because they're already in the thick of it. If you have soldiers on the ground and they're fighting battles, the last thing you want to do is have them stop to vote and get somebody new in there, because a brand new administrations can't come into the middle of a war. It's not like the middle of an economic crisis or an energy crisis or anything like that. Those are things that they can bring their own ideas to. But what happens if you're in the middle of a war and you know that you can't bring those troops home? You can't fix that. You have to stay the course. And sometimes, presidents might do that. But Zelensky's handouts have, the handouts have to stop. And us continuously pumping money and supplies into the Ukraine is doing nothing to help Ukraine. They're not gaining any ground. They're not winning any war. And in listening to that heated exchange that took place in the Oval Office with Zelensky, Trump, and JD is a strong indicator of how Zelensky is operating from a place of ego and not a place of humanity. Because the single greatest nation on earth, the United States of America, has offered to assist them and support them and lift them up. Not go to war with Russia, like we would be required to do under Article 5 of the UN Treaty, but actually just be there as support. If he would just allow us an opportunity to make them a very wealthy nation. When Trump says he wants access to the vital minerals in the mines, he's not taking over Ukraine. He doesn't want to run and control Ukraine. He wants Ukraine to be the best Ukraine it can be, and he knows that with our support and our abilities, the things that we have that we can give them to lift them up and support them as a democracy, is what he needs. But all he wants is money, 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 and soldiers. And as you know, it was discovered during an audit that he has misplaced hundreds of millions of American dollars that we sent to them, that the Biden administration sent to him. If you put a 10 or a 20 in your pocket and it falls out and you lose it, okay, so you lost $10 or $20. But when you lose hundreds of millions of dollars that have been given to you by a nation that wants to help you. There's a lot of suspicion there. Where did that money go? Who did it go to? You don't just magically lose that kind of money. Somebody pocketed that money. Somebody funneled and laundered that money. And I think the last thing that arrogant little prick needs to do is come in and start beating his chest and wagging his dick around in our Oval Office, telling us, you know, how we're going to feel. We're not going to feel anything. You don't run us. We're not intimidated by you. You're just a little flea on the back of a dog. Click, there you go. Now, you might have been able to threaten and manipulate Biden and Harris, but you can't do that to Trump and JD. It ain't going to happen. Obviously, you know that. But the minerals deal is to make them safe and wealthy and have opportunities abounding, as well as to improve the lives of Americans. It's a two-way benefit. We're not trying to take them over. We're not trying to take anything from them. We're trying to protect their assets, but we have to get something in return. You know, these days of trying to be friends with everybody is over. The grown-ups are back. Bad parents try to be friends with their children instead of parents to their children. And the Biden administration was a bad parent, trying to be a friend to everybody but their own people. And they fell for Zelensky's rhetoric. They fell for his grift. And they just kept pumping and pumping and pumping tax dollars that we didn't approve into his country. And to what end? He's still at war. He's refusing to stop war. He thinks that he can keep going until he wins. Well, here's the thing. And I've said this many times. I'm not a math genius, but let me tell you something. He doesn't have enough soldiers. He doesn't have enough people. He doesn't have enough land mass to fight a war against Russia. And of course, North Korea has troops there. I think China might have troops there. If they've got 10,000 soldiers to every one Ukrainian soldier, it doesn't add up. He's not going to do what he wants to do. Russia will not back down. And that's kind of what he said in the Oval Office, that he's just going to fight and fight and fight to the end. To what end? Till your country is blown to bits? Till it's dust and ash? Till every one of your people are dead? You dumb, stupid moron. Personally, my opinion, the Ukrainian people need to stop supporting Zelensky. The Ukrainian people need to take over their government. Somebody needs to enact a coup. Some Ukrainians need to stand up and overthrow that little Napoleon who is out for his own gain. He's not out for the betterment of his own people. He's out there for his own gain. If he was out for his own people, he would look to every humble, reasonable offer, and he would come to the people making the offers humbly and reasonably and say, hey, my people are suffering and I'm done playing the ego. I want to put my people first. That's what a good leader does. Put their people first. So yeah, it must be hard to sit in the Oval Office and fight every day to keep Americans out of World War, especially when you're dealing with, the bastards that you're dealing with that are trying to pull you any way they can into a war. Because I guarantee you, if we were at war with, in support of Ukraine against Russia, I guarantee you that Zelensky would sit back and pull all of his troops and let us do the fighting for him. Because he's a weak coward, hiding behind his victimhood. He's not a victim. A real leader wouldn't have gone to war with Russia. A real leader would have sat down and tried to make negotiations. But no, he pushed immediately, days into the conflict, pushed to get himself into NATO so that we would fight a world war, because he wanted to be the big bad man at the center of a world war. He is an oligarch. He is a tyrant. Not Trump. I just hope that they can get some kind of deal, mineral or otherwise, in place so that we can put a stop to what's happening there. But a peaceful stop that won't annihilate the Ukrainian people, but lift them up. And until next time, do good and be good.